is going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of The Legislative Director, talking about legislative things. Here she is this week. It's taken a month. Legislative Director Amber Marr, and with her as always, not the Legislative Director, Jason Thompson. Amber, it's this week.
That was
Let
an
me tell you.
understatement. Yeah.
A lot happening.
I think on Tuesday, I thought it was Thursday.
Yes, same, for sure. I thought it was all day Tuesday. I thought it was Thursday. Thought it was Thursday when it was Wednesday. It's now Thursday.
And it's still not Friday.
This week is never going to end. So for those of you that are watching this, it will be Friday. Congratulations. You made it. And I think we're going to make it too.
I hope so.
So a lot to get to today.
Jury's still out.
There's still time. There's a lot to get to today. A lot of things that were happening at the Statehouse. Some things that we touched base with at the end of last week that we didn't get a chance to do an update. Some things that are carrying over from last week that we worked on that happened this week. Testimony happening. Another day at the Statehouse with with an organization that we're working closely with. So we got some interviews from Amber on site at the Statehouse again that you'll get to see after this. But first, let's give a rundown of some of the bills that you've been working on over at the Statehouse.
Okay. So real fast, going to last week, we testified in support of Senate Bill 73 and Senate Bill 160. Senate Bill 73 dealt with occupational therapy licensure compacts.
Okay.
And Senate Bill 160 was about the professional counselors licensure compact. And the reason why this is important is because many of our listeners and viewers might remember in the past couple of years, we have previously supported the nurse licensure compact and the interstate licensure compact for physicians. We know that these compacts strengthen access to healthcare, and that is why we support them. So we just did a quick us too. And also I wanted to point out that in Senate Bill 160, it has some telehealth language. So it also expands portions of the telehealth law.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So last week you saw some footage from the Public Health Day at the Statehouse, interview with Dr. Box and Amber. The component, I guess you would say, the infrastructure part of that bill, so not the funding for it, but just how this is going to be set up. That bill received a hearing this week, and we testified on. Tell us about that.
Yes, Senate Bill 4, and there was a little bit that you said that's not completely correct.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I've tried to help you, but it's pointless.
No,
okay.
You got it.
You might want to consider more notes next time.
Sure.
Okay, so Senate Bill 4, the Public Health Commission bill. We did testify in support. It is the bill where it talks about how that structure trickles down to the local communities, but it has been, well, first of all, it passed out of Senate Health and Provider Services 12-0, I believe. And I'm just doing that off the top of my head.
I think you're right.
And it is going to be recommitted to appropriations. So you saying that it doesn't have any funding associated to it, actually, because it's tied to the budget and it is about something and dealing with the money that would end up in the budget, technically there are funds associated with it. Although there is no fiscal.
Gotcha.
I mean,
yeah.
Senate Bill 4 does not specifically have a fiscal, but there is money that we're asking for attached in House Bill 1001 that will be structured and organized the way Senate Bill 4 refers to that program. That was very confusing.
Just making legislation.
I guess
it happens.
All that we need to close out with is on this bill is Senate Bill 4 was heard. There was a lot of testimony.
So it was a long committee.
It was hours.
It was a long committee.
So there are some things that I think the legislators will look to tweak.
Okay.
But just know that it did pass 12-0, but it has to be recommitted to appropriations, so it will need to be discussed there as well, and then it goes to the Senate floor.
Okay.
So we still have a little bit of a journey to go.
But it passed out of the committee. It's going to another committee.
Yes.
And then we'll see what happens from there. Okay.
Yep.
What else did we testify on this week?
Well, why don't you tell us? Because this one's yours.
This is true. I made my, I guess, session debut testifying before a committee. Usually not my jam. It's usually yours. But we are getting more in the mix on, I guess, utility issues is how we would refer to it. And that has kind of been an area that I've been helping out in. And there was a bill, it's Senate Bill 114. It's receivership for past due utility bills. And we testified in support of. So basically, this bill, for those that are in the central Indiana region, you may have heard about this. There was a apartment complex that the landlord, the tenants just paid their rent and their utilities. It's kind of like all in one thing. Just paid it directly to the landlord, and then it was the responsibility of the landlord to pay those utility bills. They were not paying those utility bills to the point where I think it was in excess of $1 million worth of charges where a lot of people were going to get their water and everything like that shut off. And so this bill is trying to make sure that an event like that doesn't necessarily happen again, where a utility will, and I have something in my eye. Excuse me while I deal with this. I'm just blinking away. What is happening here?
Well,
Okay.
I also creepily smiled when you were talking about this at first because I wasn't sure that you actually had that title right.
I did. It was written right here, I think, if I can see it.
Oh no! What is happening?
Okay, so I'm just gonna hold this real quick while we're talking.
Oh, okay.
All right, actually,
should I take over?
Yeah, you have to take over. Take this thing out real quick.
You're gonna take your contacts out right on our show. This is great.
Show. This is gonna hurt.
This is real world, folks.
Yep.
This is what happens.
Well, maybe we'll keep this in.
I think
so
you
this
should.
bill now,
okay.
Hopefully, will prevent. Basically, what it comes down to is now people are not living under the threat of
disconnection,
potentially, being disconnected and being cut off from that stuff.
Why don't you try to deal with that?
I'm gonna take with that.
I will. Let me just also say the reason why. I mean, for more reasons than just trying to help individuals not have their utilities disconnected when they have no say over that because they're not paying the utility directly. They're paying their landlord through their apartment complex or whatever complex they're living in, and they're renting. So that is what is so important to this. And so we're kind of putting this, although this is in utilities,
yes,
it's also
very much
somewhat in the housing section of our work as well.
So it's kind of all intersecting.
Yeah.
Passed out of committee. So it's just one step forward in regards to that and some of our habitability, as we like to call it, work.
Yes.
So last thing before,
I don't think it's the last thing, but
it's not the last thing.
You want it to be
because my eye. I don't know what's going on here. So this is a good time. This is what the people want.
So sorry.
Anywho.
Thanks.
What else happened this week? There was a day at the Statehouse.
Yep.
With our friends that are advanced practice registered nurses. Let's talk a little bit about what that is, and then we'll cut to some interviews that we did at the Statehouse, as well as some remarks maybe from our state president, who was also on hand.
Absolutely. So this week, CAPNY, which is the Coalition for Advanced Practice Registered Nurses of Indiana, had their Statehouse Day. And it was amazing. We were there with our state president, Linda Deno, and they did they had a whole day, but a portion of it was sort of doing what we would refer to as kind of like a press conference.
Yes.
Right, where a lot of our coalition partners, because we belong to a coalition called Hoosiers for Healthcare Access, and they allowed members of that coalition to be up there with Caitlin, who I believe, and I might get her title wrong, but you'll see it in the clip, is their legislative director for CAPNY.
I think that's right.
And she was just allowing individuals to sort of give background on their organization and why this issue matters to them. So, we had a lot of other folks alongside Linda to talk about moving forward our support for removing the collaborative agreement between a advanced practice registered nurse and a physician.
Yes. So this is a mandated contract that they're required to have that is kind of unnecessary red tape, if you will. So that is what they were advocating for, that we were a part of this coalition. So they had a day at the Statehouse. There was a whole lot of APRNs in the house. And then some interviews from Amber with Linda and with Caitlin from CAPNY. So those are the things. What else did we do?
Yes,
this week?
I wanted to give a shout out to Prosperity Indiana and the Assets and Opportunities Network. That was something else that was happening this week. Not only did they have their summit, but they also held the Assets and Opportunities Network Breakfast, which is another coalition / network that we're involved in because of our work around financial security and economic opportunities. And so we were a sponsor of that breakfast and gave the welcome during that. And then they also had their Statehouse Day this week. While we couldn't have a huge presence at it, we had a lot of other things going on. But I did just want to give that shout out to them because I thought it was a really great turnout, and we appreciated them allowing us to have the ability to give the welcome to all of the folks.
Yeah, good people, good organization. So
it gave us a little bit of an opportunity to talk about savings for retirement and even healthcare access, which a lot of folks don't necessarily correlate with financial security.
Yep.
So
it was a busy week.
Yes, and it's not over. So
yes,
we'll have a lot more updates, I'm sure, on our next episode.
And stuff falling out of eyeballs and stuff.
Maybe you can get that under control.
I'm about to get this under control. So while I get this under control, we'll wrap this section of the show up, and you will then get to see the action at the Statehouse this week when Amber talked with Linda Dunn, our state president, and Caitlin with CAPNY to talk about APRNs and the good work that they're doing and what we're trying to get done at the Statehouse.
But you'll also see you testifying.
You may have already seen that picture of me testifying over while I was talking about this whole thing.
That's right.
Let's hope I can edit it correctly.
I don't get this editing process.
Yeah, it's hard.
I mess it up.
It takes a while. Anywho, either way, you'll get to see me at the microphone. We're probably going to see you at the microphone. You doing interviews. This show is just very versatile now.
Yep.
So we are here today with Caitlin Krause, who is Legislative Director with CAPNY. And we just are also here still in the Rotunda for their Legislative Day. A lot of people have gone upstairs to talk to legislators. And so AARP was here supporting their efforts. And we just want to know, Caitlin, thank you so much for doing all of this. And we just want to hear from you about how today went. And then also if you could just kind of touch on why these issues are so important to Hoosiers.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you to AARP for supporting us in this legislative effort. So we've got Senate Bill 213 and House Bill 1330 right now, hopefully moving forward in the legislature, and that is sponsored by Senator Charbonneau and Senator Breaux, along with Representative Engelman, Smaltz, Ledbetter, and Shackelford. Hope I'm not missing anyone there. But really the goal here is to increase access to care across Indiana. We've got 2.4 million Hoosiers that don't have access to primary care. We rank like 43rd in mental health outcomes, and we have 25% of our counties that are maternal health care deserts. So when you talk about mental health care, primary care, maternal health care, these are areas where advanced practice registered nurses like myself, that typically is a nurse practitioner, the more common term, or a nurse midwife that you might hear, we're the ones delivering health care in rural areas, vulnerable populations, older adult care, home health care, long-term care. I mean, you name the setting and you're going to find an advanced practice registered nurse there. So that's our goal today, is really increasing access, decreasing costs of care, because we know that's a huge issue in Indiana, and then also improving these terrible health outcomes we have. So that's our goal. That's what Senate Bill 213 and House Bill 1330 will accomplish for Hoosiers, and we're excited for you guys to support it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really are excited to be a part of this as well, especially with the Coalition for Hoosiers for Healthcare Access. So we're glad we're talking to you today, and I know we'll be talking to you in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we are here today with our volunteer state president, Linda Dunn, after we just finished attending CAPNY's Legislative Day, and also alongside our coalition of Hoosiers for Healthcare Access. Linda, you were up on the podium today kind of speaking AARP's opinion and position. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it and why it's so important?
health care is probably the number one thing for people 50 and over. And the fact that they have red tape in place that they can't receive health care, especially in the rural areas in Indiana, the fact that we can make a difference by removing that red tape with these two bills, why not? You know, it's one less thing that people have to worry about. Transportation, food, all those things fall into health. And then when you start talking about the fact that APRNs can't practice without certain stipulations, and that other states have found it very successful to remove those, the red tape, and allowed them to do their job, I think it's great for everybody, let alone people 50 and over that don't have access to a doctor and may have to travel hours to get that access.
Absolutely, thank you. So we were here today supporting Senate Bill 213 and House Bill 1330, which we are going to be working and asking for a hearing. So we really appreciate you being here, Linda, and for sharing AARP's position. So thank you.
Favorite part of my job.
Perfect.
A lot going on this week. Good work to you. Good work to all of you. Hope you enjoy the show and enjoy the clips of Amber at the Statehouse interviewing people. I think she's got a future in it. We'll get into more of that on the next episode of The Legislative Director, talking about legislative things. See you then.